Hi, everyone. This is Samantha Varner from ProSymmetry. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to give it about another minute or so to let a few more people log on. We definitely want to be mindful of your time today. So we'll give it just about another minute and then we'll get started. All right, it looks like most attendees are on, so we will go ahead and get started today. Thank you again so much for joining us today on our first webinar in the Tempest Functionality and Navigation series. Today we will be covering Tempest Resource Basics for all levels of users. Like I said earlier, my name is Samantha Varner and I am a Customer Success Manager here at ProSymmetry, and I'm really excited to talk with you all today and to show you some of the basics. So with that said, we do have a few webinars coming up in the future. I am going to copy and paste links to those webinars with details into the chat box. Feel free to register with for any of the ones that you feel as if you would like to join. That is in the chat box now. And then in addition, if there is something that we cover today that you believe you would like more information on, you think would be a great topic for a webinar in the future, please share it with me. We are always looking to cover what you want to know most about. And if you have any questions about anything, please let me know. If we have time at the end, we will be taking questions. And of course, if I don't get back to it on today's webinar, then I definitely will be getting that to you via email after today. All right, so I do want to mention, since we do have all levels of users tuning in today, I do want to share that some of the features and functionalities in Tempest may not be available to you. Your system admin can enable and disable certain features based on your business processes and governance, so they may be disabled for a reason. If you see something that you think that you would like access to, please reach out to your system admin to see if that is something they can do for you. Additionally, I am currently showing you a Tempest 5.0 environment. That is our latest version release of Tempest that we just launched about a month ago now. So you will see some things if you are not on 5.0. You will see some things that you may not have access to. Again, if there is something that you would like, contact your system admin. Admins, feel free to reach out to me directly and we can get started on your upgrade. All right, so now that my screen is being shared, I'm hoping that you are all able to see it. If not, please let me know in the chat box, but we are gonna go ahead and move forward with today's webinar. So when you log into Tempest Resource, you will land on the Tempest home screen. You will see here I have several tiles. I am an admin in the system, so I have access to pretty much everything. And each module of Tempest can be accessed via its tile here. A few things to note as well, in addition to some of the things that may be disabled for you and some of the things that are available in 5.0, you are able to rename the term project in your system. So some of you may have audit management here, sprint management, things along those lines. So for today's purposes, I'm going to refer to it as project. That is what is out of the box of Tempest. So please know that those terms could be interchangeable. All right, to the right here, if you have access, you will see the audit log. Typically admins deal with this changes made into the system and can be exported via Excel. We're not going to go too deep into this today, but if you do have questions, please let me know. Okay, so the resource management tile. Tempest Resource, as you know, is a resource management software. We think that it is, of course, the best one out there. And the resource management tile is the home for all resources in your system. Before we click into an individual resource here, I do want to describe this view to you a little bit more. So the resource management view, when we say that, is right here. It is where all of your resources are listed. This view can be defined by the user to include any columns that they would like with choose columns here. These are all attributes or details of the resource. Additionally, you can group your resources into different roll-ups that you would like. So for this example, I'm going to show you how to group resources by department. And this will show you each department. A department is a resource attribute in this case that we have listed out, and all of the resources that are in that department. We do have several users who use this just for ease of use and comfortability of the screen. You can make this view a default view. You can set it as just a view to have to easily navigate to. Really some options there. And like I said, this is managed by the user. All right, so a new resource can be created multiple ways. To create an individual resource, you're just going to click into the Create Resource button, give it a name, and click Create. Here, you can set the user identity for the resource. All users must be resources, and they will be upon creation, but not all resources need to be users. So this is something to really take into consideration when you are creating a user who needs to log into the system. Here, you can define your required fields, your required attributes, and then your optional attributes as well. Attributes are defined by the administrator, so you will notice that some of these may not be available to you. Additionally, the screen that you first go into when you click into a resource is defined by the administrator as well. Some of you may have this attributes and identity, others of you may go straight to the capacity screen. In this capacity screen, you are going to set a start and end date for your resource. If this is a demand planning resource, you can turn that on here. And then your base capacity is going to be set based on what is defined at the admin level. It can be edited if needed. Say you know that this resource is going to be working less in August 2020, you can edit that here. Additionally, you can add calendars if you have a holiday calendar for your organization, admin time type, say 16 hours of admin time each month, you can do that here. If you are an organization that works in FTE, you can click into FTE and update that way as well. Of course, we have our time granularities, month, week, and day. And then down here, we have the cross-project allocation, which is not populated now for this new resource, but in a second, you will see what happens. And then we also have an audit log for all resources, and this reflects any changes that is made to that resource over time. We are going to save this resource, and then we are going to click the back button and go to the resource management view. So now we're going to go into an already created resource. What does this look like? So Abigail Wells, she has a defined fault rate. She has a department defined. All of this information here is set for her based on the attributes we have. And then we're going to go into her capacity. So it looks like Abigail Wells has the start and end date here. Resources, it's important to have a start and end date. This could be for contractual purposes if you do have an independent contractor, and really for the system to be able to define when that capacity expires. You can always edit the end date, so that way if the end date is approaching and you know this person is going to still be here, you can edit that out. And then this cross-project allocation screen right down here, the one I referred to before, in the resources profile, you can see which projects they are allocated to, and then where, based on that net availability, where they will be over allocated, under allocated, perfectly allocated. This heat map down here is defined by the administrator. So if you believe, you want to change it for any reason, please reach out to them. You can see planned and actual data here. You can export this as an Excel file. You can go to quarter, week, day, time, cost, FTE percentage. You really have a lot of options here. Okay. Now, in this project management grid, or view, I apologize. I do want to mention that you can bulk update your resources as needed. So you can select all right here, just to the left of name. You can select just a few. And then you can inline edit these resources. So say I want to set the resource manager for these particular resources to Samantha Varner. I can do so like this, click save. And automatically their resource manager is set. And this is where choosing those columns comes into play if you really want to update some of those resources in bulk. Additionally, we have the bulk capacities update button up here as well. You're welcome to do that. We do encourage you to use an Excel file import for updating capacity if needed. Tends to be one of the easiest ways to go about doing so. System admins have access to the data synchronization tile and admins. From there, you can click Excel and you can download a template file to see which columns are necessary in addition to the ones that you would like to include. That could be resource skills, could be employment bases, things along those lines. You can update the capacity here or with that file as well. Take it out a few years, do really whatever you need to do. If you have any questions about that, please let us know. All right, and after you get your resources set, it is now time to go into project management. So just like resource management, the project management view can be edited with specific columns. You can choose groups. So maybe here you want to choose to roll up your projects by project owner. You will see here, I don't have this spelled out properly, apologies there, based on the project owner, how many projects they have underneath them. Really have some good options here for the view that you want to create. Again, you can create a default view. You can create other views to click to quickly, really have some options. So to create a project, very similar to resources, you just go into create project, test is what we are going to call this one. Set your attributes as needed. And then go into your allocation screen. Again, you may have the allocation screen is what you land on first. That is defined by the admin, so no worries there. Select, apologies, you're going to check out the project first. Select the start and end date for the project. And from there, you're going to have the single project allocation grid. You can type a resource, and then you can include their planned location. The heat map that it is showing right now, it is telling you that this resource is over allocated during these periods, specifically these days, weeks, and months. And again, this is defined by the administrator. And depending on how you operate, you can do this in time, cost, FTE percentage, and Gantt. We do also have an option for man days. A lot of our European customers choose to do that, and that is turned on by your system admin. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. Once you set your allocation for this project, save and check in. The check-in and checkout system works very similar to a library book. When a library book or a project is checked out, no other users will be able to access it and edit the information. As soon as it's checked in, it'll be available to other users, those specifically who have the permissions. Here, you can turn the total column on and off, and you can turn the heat map on and off. You can also export to Excel, and you can allocate via task as well. I also want to mention that within the project, we do have various screens to help your project planning. So we have the project's audit log, again, going to show you all of the changes being made, the build team for that project, if that is a feature that you use, the financials, the milestones, snapshots if you've taken any, your sheets, and then the schedule feature as well. Within the schedule feature, this is something that's brand new in 5.0. So I do just kind of want to show you what it looks like really quickly here. We're going to keep it very, very generic. And if you are interested in this, please let me know and I can get you a demo set up for this feature specifically. So the project functionality, you are going to identify your tasks and then the start and end date for each. So here, let's build this task out to be about 24 days long. From here, let's say we want this task to be about 25 days. That's going to build out. And say we want this one to be 90. You can see the start and end dates. You can see the Gantt chart. These can be moved if they need to be. You can also link these together as needed as well. A lot of good features in here. Not going to go into too much detail today. However, please know that that is in there. All right, we're going to save and check this one in. Then we are going to go back to the project management view. So to edit or view a current project, you are just going to click into it based on the what's in the list there. You can go to allocations. From here, you can edit any of the resources that you have. You can see any of the tasks that they are assigned to, and then their allocation as well. You can also drill down from the task level, view the task, view the resource. Again, you can turn on your heat maps, your total columns, export, all of those options that you have when creating a project. And you are going to be able to see the over and under allocation of the resource as well. We like to call this grid the single project allocation grid. You are looking at a single project's allocation. Very self-explanatory there. All right, and I do actually want to go back to this attribute screen here. So in this attribute screen, we have several options for quick things that you may need to do within the project. Maybe you need to take a snapshot of the project where it's currently at. Maybe you need to shift the start date of a project, delete a project. Do not recommend using this unless you absolutely have to. And locking a project. Project locking is also new in 5.0. Do want to point that out. And when a project is locked, it can no longer be accessed. No edits can be made. No actuals can be saved via timesheets. It is a way to archive your projects without removing that information from the system. If you'd like more information, please reach out. Glad to do so. And then from here, again, very similar to resources, you can bulk update your projects as needed. Maybe you want to lock these specific ones. So we're going to lock them all. And just like that, they are all now locked. You will notice that the lock icon changes over here as well. And then some of these options go away. Very similar to what is in the attributes screen. This you can snapshot and move the start date of a project, clone the project, delete. Really some options here for you to make some quick edits to your projects. This whole view, and I don't believe I mentioned this for resource management, this whole view can be exported if needed to an Excel file as well. All right. And if, in case I did not mention this, you can navigate to the home screen with the Tempest resource logo up here in the top left corner. It's one of the easiest ways to get back to it. Definitely recommend using that. Sometimes the arrows to click back, you're just clicking back a few screens and just need to get to the home page quickly. One thing I did not mention with project management, you can also edit your projects in bulk with an Excel import, very similar to the resources import. Again, admin settings, data synchronization, Excel, you can download a template that you can use to make all of your edits within the Excel file and then import that way as well. If you have any questions, I would love to assist with this. Please reach out. It is a very easy way to do it and to make a lot of changes at once. All right, so sometimes we have many users who their project managers are working on multiple projects, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of resources involved, and so they need to be able to see all of those projects in one screen. So for that purpose, we have the bulk project allocation screen and then the bulk project allocation flat grid. These two features provide different views to do the same thing. So the end goal is going to be the same. There is no difference in what they can accomplish. It's just how you're accomplishing it. So the bulk project allocation screen is structured like a waterfall. So here we've selected the resources we would like in the given time frame and then the projects we would like. Let's go ahead and click this to roll up so that way we have a larger screen. And what I mean by waterfall is you're going to have your resource or your project if you choose, and you're going to click down into that resource, the projects that they are on, and then the tasks. So let's go ahead and scroll over to what Abigail is working on here. So here we can see that Abigail Wells is over allocated based on the heat map that has been overlaid onto the grid. Again, this heat map is defined administratively, so it'll be based on your business practices. And then we can edit as well. Abigail, we need her to complete the risk tolerance assessment. She'll need about 6 hours in June to do that. Maybe she'll need 24 in July and then 6 again in August. You can make these edits right here. So that way, when you look at some of your other resources, it's all in one screen. We're going to go ahead and click save. So that way that updates there. And then if we need to go into another resource, we can do so as well. Depending on what your admin has defined for you, you can set in time, cost, FTE, FTE percentage. And then the bulk project allocation flat grid. Before I go there, one thing I do want to mention is this quick link setting over here, sometimes referred to as the hamburger menu. You can navigate quickly between modules and tiles within here. It's a great way to jump to whatever you need to go to. So for this, we're going to look at bulk project allocation flat grid. Here we have some resources selected, some of the projects that they may be working on. Again, the time frame we have desired. And the bulk project allocation flat grid has a more Excel-like appearance. A lot of our project managers or users who are project managers who are very familiar with Excel prefer this screen just because they can kind of see it in a way that feels the most comfortable to them. So here we can see project scheduling is actually a locked project, so edits are not going to be able to be made to this. However, Abigail, we want to edit her allocation for Python phase 10. We can make these changes right here and click save. And then they will update in the single project allocation flat grid. They will update in her cross project allocation flat grid under her resource profile. And those reflections will be made. Again, this is a great way to see really all of your resources and your projects all at once. So that way you can be making sure that you're making educated allocations when needing to. You can also add some columns into this based on attributes. You can turn off the total row. You can turn off the heat map. Really have some options here for whatever is best for you. You can plan by quarter, week, and month as well. And again, you still have your time, cost, your FTE, and your FTE percentage. So you've probably heard me a few times now mention attributes. Attributes are really key to making sure that you are able to report on the functions that you want to be able to report on later, to categorizing and identifying and providing accurate details for your projects, resources, and assignments. They're really the key to success here. All of your attributes are defined by your system admin. So we are going to go into admin settings, attribute management, and from here, admins can create any and all attributes they would like. There are a few attributes that are provided as soon as you log into Tempest, and those are indicated by system here. So a few things like dataset preference, that is a required one, that will remain the same. Some of them, project hierarchy, maybe that's not something you use, so you just don't need it. All of those will live here. A few common attributes that we see specifically for project owner, senior lead, PMO comments, maybe it is the audit manager, just anything that you want to be able to report off later is really key for getting in here. Common resource attributes we see, department is a big one, employment basis, if they're consultant, contractor, full-time staff, part-time staff, skills, that is a huge one as well. We do see a lot of our customers use these. So we are going to go ahead and create an attribute real quick, just so you can see what it looks like. So maybe this is business unit, that is the home of the project. And this is actually going to be a string value. You can make it required, read only, or you can make it have to be a unique value. We're going to create this attribute. So you will see business unit here. You have some edit options. You can delete it, you can edit it, you can clone. And then the most important step after you create your attributes is the attribute layout. So there will be a designated layout that you have for your attributes. We have put them in required and optional fields. However, you can create a new section that you would like. You can change the name of it. We are going to test. Maybe you want that section expanded automatically when your users go into the attribute screen. So you can do that. And then you just drag and drop your attributes in any order that you think is relevant to your business. You can remove them if you would like. PMO comments, maybe we need to take that one out, and we take it out there. Really, you can define this however you think it's best for your organization. And then you just save changes. All right, and those changes are saved, and I'm going to navigate to a project really quickly so that way I can show you how this shows up here. So again, quick links, project management. Let's go into this project. We are in the attributes screen, and there we go. Our new section of test and business unit is right there. And very similar to projects and resources, your attributes via Excel import if you would like. Again, admin settings, data synchronization, Excel. There is an import template file for you to view in there. So that way you have some guidance on what you need. All right, so next we're going to go into resource request workflow. It should be noted that resource request workflow does come with all Tempest. We do have about a 50-50 split of users who use this at this time. It is defined administratively for the entire organization, and the structure, processes, and governance is different for each organization, but the goal of resource request is to allow project managers or specific users to request allocation from named or demand planning resources in Tempest. This can be defined administratively by going to admin settings, general settings, resource request, and from here you can determine if the allocation data set needs to be pulling a request for demand planning resources or just named. Again, for the demand data set. Again, this is all based on your business processes. If you have any questions, we can absolutely talk about that. All right, so once requested, a project manager has requested a resource that has a resource manager who needs to approve that request. Whether the allocation was provided in single project allocation, bulk project allocation, the request will go through. So resource managers will have this resource request tile here. They will be able to click in and they will be able to see all resources of theirs that have been requested. They will see the status of it. So this one was approved. These are pending. The resource manager can click into this request and they can see the name of the resource. I kept it very generic for this example. They can see the name of the resource, the allocation requested during this request, month, week, day, time, cost, FTE, FTE percentage. And then down here, they can see other resources that they could swap this resource out for with a heat map as well. So that way you know where your other resources stand. You're not going to replace this resource with one that is already overallocated because then you just have an extremely overallocated resource. However, maybe you want to switch it out for a resource that's not. From here, you can approve, reject, or delegate this to another resource manager. Say that you don't feel as if you can make this call because of this specific project or some other reason, you can delegate that to a manager as well. And then once you hit that, in the project, the resource will have that allocation in there. And your view as well, very helpful. This can also be exported if needed. Okay, timesheet management. So Tempest Resource has an additional add-on called Timesheets. This provides insight to the allocation of resources and really how long it takes them to complete tasks. Resources can submit their working hours for individual projects over days, weeks, or months. And specifically, out of the box, resources can submit their time for projects that they are allocated to. However, we do have the option for them to submit time to projects that they are not yet allocated to. So for timesheet users, they, once enabled in their resource profile, they are going to see this tile called My Timesheets on their Tempest home screen. When we go in there, we see that me as a user, I have submitted these hours at this point. To the previous one. I have no hours submitted for this one, but for this one here I do. And I apologize, I do not have this set up appropriately, but there will be some options up here for users to be able to submit their timesheet. Maybe they save it, maybe they go in each day to submit their hours, but they want to save because they're not ready to submit the entire timesheet. They can do that here. And then once approved, they can also, or once submitted, they can also retract their timesheet hours as well, in case that any changes need to be made. So once a timesheet is submitted, the timesheet approver is going to have the timesheet management tile on their screen. From here, the timesheet approver will be able to click in and approve or reject the submitted timesheet. So this resource here submitted these hours. If it looks good to me, I can write a comment. Maybe you get a little bit more detailed in this comment of, why they were working on the project or something along those lines. And then you hit approve, and that has been submitted. Oh, and of course, this project specifically was locked, so I couldn't make any changes to it. That was a great example to show you of how locked project works. All right, and now we're going to focus on report management. Okay, and in report management here, so as we all know, we are resource managers, we are project managers, we all have a lot going on, and one of the best ways to show the work that we are doing is through reporting. So we're going to go through three different reports specifically here and a dashboard. So again, reporting is key to get a holistic view of your resources and projects. And we have several versions of reports built into Tempest for you to use. So we have Pivot Grid right here, and this allows you to build Excel-like reports with more customization and in-depth analysis than what you're going to get from an Excel file. Pivot Chart is built similar to Pivot Grid, but visualizes the data in charts. Resource Allocation Reports, or RAR, and RAR2 as we refer to them, gives you an in-depth view of resource capacity, demand, and allocation. And reports can be exported to share with stakeholders in your organization as well, and I will show you how exactly to do that. You can also share your reports with other users in Tempest, so if you have a lot of view-only users, you can make sure that those reports are shared as well. And I believe someone was able to turn on their mic. I'm just going to ask that we can all confirm that we are muted. Not 100% sure, so apologies about that one. Okay, and I did see a comment about how I'm speaking too fast. Apologies, I will definitely slow it down for you all. Okay, so first we are going to go into the pivot grid. And before we do that, I should also mention that Tempest reports can use live data, what if modeling data, and snapshot data as well, so that you do have a variety there. So pivot grid resembles an Excel-like pivot table. When you first build the report, you're going to be taken to this screen where you can define some generalities of the report, and you can identify the dimensions. So dimensions include things like project attributes or names, resource attributes or names, and time dimensions. Once your dimensions are selected and you drag and drop into rows or columns, maybe even some filters, you need to identify the measure. So for this report specifically, we are looking at planned allocation hours. And that is what you will see over here. Then in the report layout, you can determine what you would like to see and how you would like to see it. And you can set the guidelines for the report pivot grid heat map. So in this example, these are the values that we have determined need to have the specific colors. You can also change colors. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So let's go ahead and give this a save. So this report specifically is looking at January through December of 2021, and we have aggregated the data based on department over here. We're going to go ahead and look into the accounting and finance. So you will see here, this is based on resources. If we click one more down, we can look at the projects, and we can see the pivot, or the heat map for the resources within this department. I do want to show you how easy it is to edit this heat map. Say we don't like this green for some reason, we can make it darker, we can make it blue. You really have options here to build this however you want. A few things to note: you can format your report as needed, change the cell alignment, and then export your reports. So depending on the type of report, some of the Excel versions may not be available, but we do have flat data exports, PDFs, just straight to Excel. So that is available as well. Okay, next we have our RAR2 report, or our resource allocation report. So the RAR2 chart specifically is a graphical report where you can visualize your resource capacity and allocation. You can do this with bar charts, area charts, line charts, and they can be based on the different data set options that we have within Tempest. You can apply custom filtering and configuration, and you can continue to add data sets until you have all of the desired information in the report. So this report specifically, we'll go into some of the information here. Again, we're showing the year 2021. We're looking at hours and months. And we are looking at planned allocation via a stacked bar based on department. And then we are also showing the net capacity that our resources have in this line as well. So from here, you will be able to see the stacked bar, the different departments, very interactive. You will be able to see that in the beginning of January, we do have more capacity than we have allocation. However, at the end of the year, we actually have more allocation than we have capacity. And this is really where a lot of our customers use their supply and demand analysis, kind of pulling in the comparisons of how much demand do we have, how much allocation, how much actuals, and what is our capacity at. So a lot of good insights from this report. Again, you can export specifically to PDF, and that will populate right down there. Okay. And one of the last reports I'm going to show you is the pivot chart. So very similar to the pivot grid. This one is just going to show you that information in a chart. So let me go ahead and show you what this kind of looks like here. Again, we dropped and dragged our dimensions into these areas here, our measures, representation. We chose to show the department by a pie chart, and then the date and month in a vertical bar. And from there, you can actually click in. This is a very interactive report. You can click in and see, all right, what is the planned allocation for the purchasing team during 2021? You can change this to show different charts if you would like. Really just whatever your preference is. I'll go back to our vertical bars there. And one thing that we do have a few users use and we do hear great feedback on is the option to create a dashboard. So apologies, I'm going to show you one that is already created based on the 3 reports that we have. So here you will see the pivot grid report that we created with the planned allocation. We can see the RAR2 report that we created, and we can see the pivot chart. Here, the pivot chart is still interactive. We can click into it. And we can see some of the graphical representations there as well. You can export any of these reports here, or you can export the entire dashboard to a PDF here as well. I do also want to highlight that the heat map does reflect in the dashboard as well. This is a great way to get a high-level overview of the information that's most important to you. Dashboards are defined administratively as well, or I'm sorry, they are not defined administratively, they are defined by the user. So each user will have to set up their own. Okay, and the last thing I do want to show you today is Tempest Whatif. So really, all of the work that you put in defining your capacity, making your allocations, really just getting those actuals in the system, all of that work really comes into play here and lays the groundwork for Tempest Whatif modeling. So this modeling, I do just want to share really just models and forecasts any situation that your organization may run into. So maybe you are reducing headcount for a specific reason. Maybe you have competing project priorities and you need to show those different priorities to your stakeholders. Maybe you have over or under allocation of resources and you really want to see where that's at. There's a lot of power in the data that we have here. I also do want to mention that Tempest Whatif is a sandbox environment, so any changes you make in the model will not reflect in your live data. And this is so you can have an ability to see where things go and where things are going to lie if decisions are made. So once you create a model, you're going to create one up here. You are going to get to this screen where you're going to name the model. You are going to provide a date range. Is it private? Is it shared? What's your aggregation level? Again, just to go with our example today, we're going to aggregate by the department. Are you looking at net capacity or base capacity? Which projects are you including? Do you have any filters set up? Really all of this information here. And I do want to mention, we are going to be hosting a webinar on this topic specifically in the future, but please, if you have any questions, send them my way. All right, let's go ahead and go into the model. So here in the model at the top, you are going to see a Gantt chart of all projects that we selected to be in this model. It is extremely interactive, as you can see here, really gives you a high-level overview by years of what's going on in your portfolio. Down here, we have our resources aggregated by department. So let's click into the marketing team here. And right now we have the heat map view on to see where the over or under allocation lies. And this heat map specifically is going to focus on over allocation. So just a quick example, Brandon Hart on the marketing team here, we see that he is extremely over allocated in May. So we can click this cell and see which projects is he allocated to that are affecting this. Say we determined that Astro Phase 7 is not as much of a priority, his time needs to be spent elsewhere. You can click this project name. Up here, your Gantt chart will automatically snap to that project, and you can move this project around to see how does that affect him. So again, Brandon Hart right here in May, pay attention to this. You will notice that that percentage changes. We notice that he becomes less over allocated that month specifically as we move the project out, but he becomes over allocated in months to follow. We have a few other options here to view this grid. We have a cool map to see under allocation. You can see the system delta. You can see this in a graphical representation. And then you can also see a grid. This grid provides your net availability, deficit or surplus only, maybe your allocation, your net capacity, really the information that's important to you here. You can turn on a heat map as well. And you can change the granularity. Maybe you want to see by quarter, maybe you want to see by FTE here. Really the options are there for you to determine this, whatever's best for your business. So a lot of options here. We do get the most questions about this modeling. Some of our users are a little timid to get started. But once you have the groundwork there, it is a really good tool and feature to use for your planning purposes. All right, so let me check some of our questions here, and I do apologize while I take a second to read this. Okay, and I do apologize if there were some mic issues. I got some feedback saying there was. It's looking like technology is not our friend today. Okay. So I do have a question here about project locking specifically that I can get into. So when you lock a project, it does prevent any changes being made to that project. You can set up some user permissions so only specific users can access locked projects. You cannot continue to enter time to it, so it will be unavailable in the timesheets. It'll be unavailable for users to update actuals. Even you, if you lock the project, you cannot make any changes to it. It will have to be unlocked and then locked again. All right, and I do apologize. I'm seeing more questions here, but they're not loading properly for me. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take all of your questions and I am going to send you an email. I do have your email based on what you signed up with, so I will be in touch with you soon. So I do apologize about that. And again, apologies if any of my mic cut out or anything along those lines. Doing our best working from home at the current moment. So with that said, I do want to let you know of some upcoming webinars that we have. I did put this in the chat box with the registration links. However, you should all be receiving email invitations to these as well. So tomorrow, we do have a resource management maturity model webinar with Donna Fitzgerald. She is a former Gartner analyst. She is a resource management pro. And you can register at bit.ly/Tempest48 if you would like to register for that one. If you have any questions about that, feel free to email me. My email is down here below, sfarner@prosymmetry.com. We do have creating project and resource management views, a little bit of an in-depth dive into that next week. Efficient project allocation planning on April 21st. We have demand planning resources on April 29th. And then specifically for Tempest admins, we do have user setup, permissions, and security groups. Again, you guys will be receiving emails about this, but we are very excited for the content that we are going to be bringing you in the weeks to come. And then last thing, I do want to mention, I know that all over the world, we are all dealing with COVID-19 and the effects that that is bringing to our normal work days and our organizations. So please know that we are here for you during this pandemic, and we understand that some of your business needs may be changing. So with that said, if you are looking to expand the use of your Tempest to maybe different teams, different departments, please give Dave Boyza, specifically your account manager, an email. I have his email listed here. If you happen to email me, worries, we'll get you connected. But we would like to help in any way that we can. These are strange times that we are going through now, and we haven't always we haven't experienced this before. So if you are noticing an influx of projects with less resources, anything really, we are here for you at this time. So thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. We are looking forward to delivering more webinars for you in the future. I promise I will fix some of the technical issues that we are experiencing today. So thank you for your patience there. And I really hope you all are staying healthy and safe during this time. So thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great day.